But Auroville has made some changes in my belief that you can do, you can actually make what you want. And also there was this lecturer in our university who told us that if you can make something in the model, you can actually make that in real life. If it's standing in the model, it will stand in real life.
नमस्कार। एक बार फिर मैं आपके सामने आ गया वास संवाद के चौथे एपिसोड के साथ। आज का जो एपिसोड है थोड़ा अलग होने वाला है बाकी एपिसोड से, क्योंकि आज की जो हमारी गेस्ट है ये इंडिया से नहीं है, ये है बांग्लादेश से। इनका नाम है पापिया। पापिया एक बांग्लादेशी आर्किटेक्ट है जिनसे मैं अपनी इंटर्नशिप के दौरान मिला था, जो कि हम पौंडीचेरी में कर रहे थे। और पापिया अपने कंट्री में एक आर्किटेक्ट है, एक डिजाइनर है, एक आर्टिस्ट है और एक सिंगर भी है। आज हम बात करने वाले हैं कि इंडियन आर्किटेक्चर और बांग्लादेश के आर्किटेक्चर में क्या समानताएं हैं, क्या डिफरेंसेस है, इन सब चीजों के बारे में। और आज के पैनल में है आर्किटेक्ट अक्षय गुप्ता और आर्किटेक्ट ऋतुराज। तो चलिए बिना देरी करते हुए आज का एपिसोड यहीं पे शुरू करते हैं। नमस्कार। Okay, so I was giving a very brief introduction of our guest today. So Papia is an architect. She's practicing in Bangladesh right now. And as I was telling to Rituraj, we actually met during our internship. I was doing my internship in a firm in Pondicherry, and I think Papia was doing her internship in Intact Pondicherry. So we were doing our internship back then, and then we kept in touch. Kind of we kept in touch. I follow her work, and she is doing a lot of interesting work in Bangladesh right now. She's an artist, she's a singer, and I think even the artwork that we can get to see behind her, the calligraphy, that's also by you, right?
No, it's by my partner. He does
Oh,
calligraphy.
okay,
I
fair
do
enough.
painting. It's another
Yes.
genre.
Okay, fair enough. Got it. So these are the kind of work that we get to see from her. And apart from that, we were also trying to establish the kind of difference that we see between Indian practice and practice in Bangladesh. That's another country. And if the things that we have established so far in terms of India, like there's a gap between academics and practice, what we are taught and what we are going out there and doing. So there's an evident gap between these two things. So we will also try to establish that if there's a similar gap in Bangladesh, what is happening in terms of new architectural trends in Bangladesh? What are people doing in general? So this is the kind of dialogue that we'd like to establish in today's episode. So Papia, we I have already tried to give a very small and brief introduction about you. You can go ahead, you can tell a little about yourself as well.
Hello. Already you have covered a lot, but yeah, since you have seen me, I think 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago,
Correct.
so things have changed a little bit. During my internship, since I was doing thesis in heritage conservation, so during my internship, I was very interested in that. But when I moved to the professional sector, I saw that heritage conservation in our country right now is not getting a lot of limelight, which it is supposed to get, because in the north we have a lot of heritage buildings which are supposed to be conserved and taken care of and regenerate some values and culture and everything, which it is not getting enough. So while doing professional practices, I am not focusing on that at all. Rather, after my internship, I went to Auroville and saw that there are a very different kind of architecture going on, research based and sustainability and natural material and buildings and everything. And then when I visited Auroville, I really liked the sector because there I felt that we had a lot of scope to give our input and time into. So now I am focusing on that. And also I practice art here because I live in a city. It's a typical city. Dhaka is a city where if massive architecture is going on, like massive housing and commercial buildings, where the young architects like us are not getting enough words if you are not connected to any organization or firm. If you're practicing in a freelance way, then you can't actually step into the bigger projects. So the little projects of architecture is not much in here because it's a city. So we practice art also. Of course, we love it. That's why. And also you get a lot of work in art easily when you are in a city. So the professional life is like 60% art and 40% architecture right now. Of course, it's from passion, but from situation as well. I'll talk about myself along the way. I would like to know the other people here in the meeting as well.
Oh, so that's like two streams of revenue.
Yes. And see, the thing is, the immediate difference that I see is in India, art doesn't have a lot of scope. Okay, like you mentioned that you get a lot of work in Bangladesh for art. There's not much scope in India for art. We never like it's a very sad fate for artists here that we never get paid properly, and there's not enough work in terms of art. People do not appreciate art that much. So that's one big difference that I see. And I understand because again, we have a lot of different paths in India, but again, the only part probably which appreciates art a little is along the like West Bengal and the East, and that's the part where art is appreciated a lot. And I can see the connect because like these two places are geographically connected as well, right? Bangladesh and like West Bengal, like geographically they're close to each other. So this is the region where I've seen like there's a general appreciation for art. So yeah, but again, like throughout the rest of India, it's mostly like architecture is getting a little traction these days, but I don't think art is getting the kind of traction that it should.
What kind of art are you involved in? So, like, is it only canvas paintings, or I just want to understand the general demand in the Bangladeshi market. So, what do people generally prefer?
So, if I'm talking as an artist, then I would like to put things in another way because art has come to me in a different way. I have been painting or doing sketches since I was a child. I don't remember when, but I specifically remember that I took it professionally when I was working for a real estate company in Mexico. I did not like at all what I was doing. It was a typical, real estate where they are making huge projects like township and housing, where I did not get enough chance to design because it was a very large project where they hired a large architectural firm who will do the design for them, because it's a syndicate where all the big architects get all the projects because they connect with the government, with the big business people, and they make the project and then they show the big drawings and everything, and then they get loan from bank, and thus they work. It's their business. But when I was working in Mexico, I was kind of frustrated architecturally that I was not able to design. So this craving made me feel, an artist channels their emotion through art. When you are sad, you paint. When you're really happy, you paint. When you cannot channel your emotion through any other thing, then you come and sit and do your art. To me, it is like this. So when I was in Mexico, I used to come back from office and I did not like what I was doing in the office. I was doing critiques for the design of the bigger firms. Rather, I wanted to design, which there was not scope for. So I came back home and I painted for hours, like 2 hours, 3 hours. And then some of my friends who are curators in Dhaka, curator means they curate exhibitions in spaces where, people come and see and buy art, and they also list the artists who are practicing art in the city. So I remember there's this friend of mine, Tayara, who is a curator, who came to my studio and saw that I'm painting, and she said that let's make this exhibition. And I was not, courageous enough, or maybe I was lazy to do an exhibition. I said I don't want to, take all the arts to an exhibition space. That's too much for me. So she arranged something in my studio. We call it Dhonnobadante, which means thank you for coming or thank you. So the exhibition was in my place and people came there, and I finally realized that my art has a value. People are buying it with money. So it gave me a certain freedom to practice art, and gave me certain, relief that I don't have to do the shitty job I am doing right now because of money, because I can be my own and do what are the things I like. I can follow my passion and yet get paid for it. So the exhibition was a hit, and I sold 3 or 4 paintings with good money, and I liked it so much that okay, I can be in my studio, do my things, practice architecture as well in my way, and can do art and live with the money I'm getting from art from that. So this is how it started, and then gradually, like word of mouth, art goes to places and connects to people, and people started to reach to me, and I mingled with the community who are practicing art in the city, like even who are buying it and also who are selling it, and who are making art without thinking about selling it. Like there are a lot of artists in Dhaka who are not making a lot of money, and they don't even care. They just want to do what they are doing because they can't do anything otherwise. Even if they are not fed, they will be painting because this is what they love to do. So while doing art, you can't think of making money out of it. Rather, you will have to be in a meditative zone where you can entirely focus on your passion and your calls, and you portray your emotions in your canvas, and then it will bring to the place where it is supposed to be, or where you are supposed to be, bring you to the place where you are supposed to be.
Correct.
You got it?
Yes. And that's something that we like don't get to see very often in India, across India, because there are artists, but again, people are struggling to like earn. That's a direction that people take. Okay, and it's a very general notion in Indian families as well. They'll just tell their kids that if you take up art, how are you going to earn? That's one big question that
Yeah,
is posed to Indian
absolutely, I
kids.
agree with this. I mean,
Yeah,
back in,
if
college days, while I was, spending a lot of time drawing and, sketching and all. So, like, my family also, picked this on me, ki, you're spending too much time on this, and, what do you want to do with your life? And you must focus on architecture, and, this cannot be a profession. You'll end up, sitting in some park painting faces and all. So it's
so
not
Papia,
what
it's like
generally
it's
well.
like the question that is posed to us is "Ghor chol mein ki kore?" That's the question
Yeah,
that is posed to us.
I can relate hard because I have passed the phase as well. When I, quit the job that was paying a lot of, money in a sustainable way. Every month you're getting enough money to
Yeah,
pay for the things you want, to pay the rent, to help your family. And also architecture is a very expensive subject when you are, studying in private sector. So a private university. So I remember that my mother once got very emotional when I quit the job, and she even cried, saying that I have spent a lot of money in architecture, Dithi, and I see you not practicing architecture and painting all the time. Why did you take a lot of money from me to study something that you were not practicing? But then I knew that I got the support from my partner. He's an architect and an artist and calligrapher, musician, and I we in our community, like 20 friends of mine, they believe that you don't have to do a job, because in the job you are doing the things that the person wants you to do. That is his work, not your work. Rather, you should focus on your work to make something of your own. Even if it's little, it's yours, it's authentic. You will love it. So I believed that I can do what I want, and I see a bright light in the end of the tunnel. But my mother and my family was, very afraid that I'm going into the tunnel. I won't say that I have passed the tunnel yet. I'm in the journey, but I still can see the light. That's for sure.
yeah, you can relate that with the dialogue in that movie Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, and Farhan's dad says ki bhai apne liye kya karte ho? What do you do for yourself? This is the kind of
Of
work you're doing for
course.
someone else, but what do you do for yourself? So that's what matters. Yeah.
These movies are very precious to us. Three Idiots. Oh my God. Anytime
Yeah.
you feel that you're giving up, just watch Three Idiots. You're going to get, for at least 1 month, you're good.
Coming back to the architectural practice that we get to see, I think I've seen a lot of your work, and I have seen a reflection of vernacular styles like that we get to see in Bangladesh as well. And it's kind of like a mix of the vernacular styles that I had seen back in Orville as well. So there is some inspiration from there. And apart from that, some styles from Bangladesh as well. So we in Bengal, we have a lot of unique styles that is going on. So how do you define your architectural style?
So one thing I know that I am not doing a conventional architecture. I don't like to draw straight lines much in plans. So maybe 1 or 2 straight lines, but the more I will share some pictures later on so that you can. So I like, more curvilinear lines, which I suffer with when I do construction because I am designing, but I'm not constructing with my own hands. But here, all the people who are working are, in a grid. They know that, brick and then la 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 and cement and brick and then cement plaster and everything. But, Auroville has made some changes in my belief that, you can do, you can actually make what you want. And also there was this lecturer in our university who told us that if you can make something in the model, you can actually make that in real life. If it's standing in the model, it will stand in real life. And also he said that if you can make one room by yourself, like with all the other things, like a building is a machine, it has to run, it has to have electricity, gas and water lines and ducting and all the MEP things going on. Not only the space has to run, it has to be mechanically or naturally ventilated or anything. You have to make one room perfectly and it is running perfectly, then you will know that you have become an architect. So the first project I started on was a personal project. My mom wanted to make a house on top of the first story was done, so I had to work on the second story of the building. So I really wanted to do the things I wanted, but since it's my mother is my client, so she won't believe in me. She will of course believe in the workers and everyone else who's surrounding. So what I did is
Yes.
typical. So tactfully, 50% of the, like if the floor is 2,000 square feet, 1,000 square feet was for my mother and what she wanted. I built it, what she wanted, and then she started living on that. And I said, the rest of it is mine. I will do what I want to do in here, like the way I want it to be. So right now, it's the work is going on. It's almost 70% of the work is done. So there I could actually make the space I wanted to, but I'm still struggling and learning through the process because, here, of course, the gender discrimination is going on. I'm sorry, 3 of you are guys, but when I'm working in the field, the first thing is they are older than me. They have more experience than me, and they have daughters in their house who are of my age. So they have this thing that I can't listen and do what this girl is telling me, because that's what they are doing in their family. They are not even listening to their wife, and I am their daughter who's telling him what to do, and they think that I am no one to tell them what to do. So I show them videos. I even work hands-on in the walls to make them understand that yes, I know what I am telling, and it's something new. Like for example, lime plaster. I told them that this wall will be lime plaster, and then I can't be at the site 24/7. I come back home. And then when I come back home, they come early in the morning and they start plastering with cement. You know, the typical cement plaster. And then I figured out, okay, let them play their thing in one wall. So I told them that this wall is cement plaster, do what you want to do. But in this wall, I will be doing what I want to do and I will be telling you what to do. Even then, you know, the proportion, they will put a lot of cement and they will tell me, no, there's no cement in there. And while telling them, I can totally understand they're lying because they're not even looking at my eyes. And later, they will admit that there was cement. So I shouted and said that the work is off. You don't have to work. I will find some new people who will listen to me. And then the second day they will come back and say, okay, I'll do what you want me to do. So this is how the struggle is there. You know, you have to focus on the work. The work has to be right. Also, you are experimenting. You don't know if it's going to be right or wrong. And also you have all these conditions to work on. It's sometimes hectic, but the drive is, I love architecture. I love experimenting and making things, you know. Architecture is different because it's 3D. You can live in this place. I also, you know, get satisfaction from painting. I can draw my imagination, but it's 2D. I can't go and live in my canvas all the time. But when I can make a space, I can live in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the drive that's keeping me alive and making me work in architecture in our country. Not so much easy.
I think the problem is very real, the one that you mentioned here about the gender discrimination that's there in India as well. So we are actually planning to make an entire episode on that. We are planning to call in a few, like 3 or 4 different female architects who are like successful practicing female architects here in India. And we're trying to discuss the exact same thing. But again, it's very true. Like in India is also, it's like slowly turning out to be a profession for men. And for some reason, yes, like people will abide to men's instruction for some reason. They'll just immediately follow without any doubt. They'll just follow the instructions.
The society is run by men. It begins in the family.
Correct.
And ends in the
correct.
I'm sorry, I that you guys are great, but this is what's going on. I face a lot of problem in my professional way. Whenever I step out of my house, it's a battle. It's always a battle. Starting from the CNG driver and, you know, ending in the meeting room with a lot of men inside.
That's a perspective that we are never going to get as men.
Yeah,
but again, like for someone like who is out there practicing, if you talk to our batchmates, and there are a few other batchmates who are practicing. So even like their part of the story is the same. They'll always tell us how things are very difficult out there, how it's a challenge every day.
All I was saying was ki, you know, I talked to a lot of female architects, you know, back in college who were teaching and practicing as well. You know, we're good friends and all. So I used to, you know, talk a lot about on this topic, you know, what are the challenges related to female architects and all. So I think one of the, as you mentioned, you know, at the field or, you know, during the construction time, it becomes a bit challenging. And I think the biggest challenge was the time, and, you know, if something is being constructed overnight and all. So many female architects were like, the times is not right, and if you're working in an office, it is expected you should be present at the site at that time. So that is one of the challenges. But as you mentioned, or, you know, as Rituraj mentioned, because of the age factor, that also plays a very important role, because when you're young and if you look young, people do not take you seriously. I mean, I have suffered this even as a faculty member. You know, if I'm in casuals, I'm looking, you know, a bit young than the other people. Nobody takes you seriously, man.
Maybe the glass helps. I'll wear some spectacles.
Yeah, that's necessary. Even I look younger than my age.
That's why Rituraj has a glass on today.
I'm missing the glass. All right.
Papia, we'll try to do a rapid fire right now. I think we have been doing this from the past few episodes. We'll just show you.
Will I get something if I win?
I don't think there's a winning or losing here. It's like, see how it works is I'll just show you a few images, and you're supposed to say a word for each image, what you feel after looking at that image. So these are all buildings, like different buildings from different places. But again, you're supposed to look at them and you're supposed to tell how you feel after looking at those buildings. Okay.
Baker, Lorry Baker. I don't know.
But what about it? Like, how do you feel looking at this image?
You just said that one word and now you're telling me about how I feel. I like it. I like it so much. It's an experiment. It's like a hobbit house, but over the ground.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
I love
Lorry Baker by any chance? Oh yeah, I can see the 5 lanes.
What about this?
Thing is, I know the architect name and it pops in my head. Like it's very Hadidi, Hadid. But it's very organic. The form, I would say organic.
Okay. What about this?
Come on, falling water. I'm making a keyboard watch. All right. It's in motion.
Motion. Okay.
Reflective.
Reflective.
Patterned.
Patterned.
Anticipation. Anticipations.
Anticipation.
Serene.
Serene. Okay. I think these were the images. So the idea is that these are all like places, like different places, right? So we're just trying to get an idea what is your view about these places, or like how do you feel looking at these different architectural styles as well. So the last one was a Mughal garden. It was from Srinagar, Kashmir.
The temple. No.
Shalimar
Meditative.
Bagh.
Is it a spiritual space?
It's a garden.
It's a garden. It's a Mughal garden in Srinagar. So it's called Shalimar Bagh. And I think the rest of most of the buildings that I showed you, you must already know all of those buildings. But a few of them are like places from India. So the one which you called patterned, it's actually called Hall of Nations. It was demolished a few years back. But again, it was a very important building
It
in
was so beautiful. I
Pragati
loved
Maidan of
it.
Delhi.
The triangular one.
Yeah,
It
the
was
triangular
amazing.
one.
Why
It's
it was demolished?
some government policy, some like the government decided to build something else in that place. So that was by an Indian architect
I
called
actually
Raj
understand.
Tiwal.
So the
Yes.
Hall of Nations was demolished not because of an architectural reason, but it had some kind of financial issues. Because
Yes.
like they were not able to bring back enough revenue and host exhibitions there. But right where Hall of Nations used to stand, now there is a Bharat Mandapam. So Bharat Mandapam is like one of the landmark contemporary buildings in India, which recently hosted the G20 final summit. So yeah, it got demolished, but it has been replaced by another masterpiece, by the way.
But again, what I feel is what's the point in demolishing it in the first place? There's a cost of
That's
demolition,
true.
then
That's
there's a
true.
cost
The
of
area, no?
I believe
yes.
I mean, it was more financial.
Fertilizing, making it, this part could be there and you could make something with it. It could stay. Plant
Right,
that
land
has grown already. You don't have to pluck it out and plant another one.
Yeah, and that's
Okay,
this prime land just in the heart of Delhi. So probably there was some reason. I'm not sure. Although I did not support it myself, the demolition of the Hall of Nations, but yeah, now it's not there.
It's very sad.
What's the state of architectural education in your country, Papia? Like we were discussing about the kind of education that we are getting here in India, the kind of architectural education. We realize that we have a gap. Like we have some gaps that need to be addressed because the students who are graduating, they are not ready for the industry. They're not ready for what's coming to them, right? Because most of us, we do not know business. Okay, that's one big aspect of like reeling in clients and getting clients and then like getting money from the clients and all of these things. So this is something that we are not prepared for in our architectural schools. So what's the status in Bangladesh?
Academics, we don't get at all the view of the practical world. Even you can't properly make a budget of the building you're making. You can't even make the specifications properly. You don't go in the market to see what are the materials. You have no idea, zero idea about the materials. But there are a lot of courses like economics, philosophy of the client and psychology of the client, even accounting, a lot of other things. I will say they have values, but there should be some courses which will make you aware of what's going on in the practical scenario. Like, at least you will have to think about the cost of the building when you are designing something. If you have in mind what are the materials available in your country, you will be able to think of designing something which is easy to make with the materials available in your country. And then the price of the material. And also the practical. I during my architectural study, only internship has led me to some place where there is actually construction work going on, or some office is going on, and I get to know what's going on in what will go on in an architectural firm. But then when you are intern, you are not taken to, you are only in the surface level of the thoughts and the parts. Yeah. So, and when I finished, the first thing I struggled was to make budgets, how to do the estimation, how to cut cost and to make it more less costly, to make it, actually when you are making something or designing something for the client is making it with money and they have certain constraint with the budget. So the design has to be feasible enough to, be built. So this is missing in the architectural academics for sure. And also we got chance to design broader projects, but not in-depth knowledge. We did not have in-depth knowledge how these projects will, like for example, a housing design. You learn to build an entire housing, but then you don't know how it will learn, how it will work, how it will affect the entire community, who is going to rent it, who is going to make it, and all the technicalities, all the aspects which is there in real life to make a housing. And then how to design broader things and big things, and then when it's like a game or a movie, when it is done, end of the story. And then you come in the real world and you see that the projects are all interior projects. There is no architecture for you. Ta-da! 2 or 3 years you will have to do interiors. But interior was for only 3 months. You don't know much about interior. It was like a painting course or a sculpture course in the curriculum. So, and then, you get into the loop of interior, and then 3 years is gone or 4 years is gone, and then you realize, oh my God, I'm not doing architecture. Let's find some architecture. The scenario after the academics is not at all portrayed during the academics. That's what I felt.
Papia, it was really nice talking to you, and I really thank you for doing this with us. And I think this gave us a lot of insight about Bangladesh as a country, and it must have given you some insight about India as well as a country, and the architectural practice and the kind of culture that is going on in both of these countries, and the kind of similarities and dissimilarities that we have. And yeah, it was a very interesting conversation, Papia. Thank you for doing this.
It's really nice talking to you guys. Thank you for arranging this podcast. বাড়লে বয়স সবাই মানুষ হয় কি, শুনলে কথা মানুষ চেনা যায় কি, চেনা সহজ নয়, চিনতে লাগে ভয়,
চেনা সহজ নয়, চিনতে লাগে ভয়, বলি তাই মানুষ চেনা দায়, ভাইরে